All right, so let's continue. We have a second question here that we are going to solve, question 2. This is also a past question. Okay, so someone should kindly read for us. First question I see is Mami Esiedu. Esiedu, that's the name I can see. Please.
I'm here.
Read for us.
Okay, well, come in my screen.
Okay.
Come in there. Oh.
Can you see, or I should increase it for you? Lillian, I think Mami said this having a challenge. Lillian, do us the harness. Oh, please.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
do this
I've muted it. Sorry.
You have muted yourself. Okay. All right.
Okay. The details of a unit cost of products X, Y, and Z have been provided below. Products, and it's the demanded in units. We have S, Y, and Z. S 1,200, Y 2,800, Z 3,000. Then
Okay,
we
we can
have
skip
direct
the.
material, direct labor.
Sorry, we can skip the details. You can just mention the main headers and then we proceed to the main. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So we have the direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead. Then the requirements. Okay. For additional information, we have the fixed overheads were absorbed at the rate of 8 cedis per machine hour. The budgeted fixed overhead of 165,600 cedis can be analyzed into the following cost pools with their respective percentage agreed for apportionment. So we have the cost pool percentages for the badge, machine, customer service, deliveries. All right. The following also relates to the activities of the company. Units in a batch for S, Y, and Z. And then we have quantities per delivery for S, Y, and Z, number of customers for S, Y, and Z. And we are required to calculate the activities rate per batch, machine hour, customer service, and delivery. Calculate the total cost of a unit of product X.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
No.
I should be also quick to add that, please, even before you go ahead to read the details of the question, you should try to read the requirement first. What have you been told to do? Okay. It says calculate the activity rates per batch, machine hour, customer service, and delivery. So once you know it, you know that, okay, I is telling me to tackle step 3 of the 5 steps, which is calculate the cost driver rate. So please know the 5 steps. Okay. All right. And then I is saying calculate the total unit cost, which is basically the step 5. Okay. So you can see it. Step 3. And then what? Step 5. All right. So let's dig down. This one, no traditional costing system, just ABC. Again, I'll start with my steps. Step 1, identify the cost pools. So you were given information about the cost pools. We have batch, we have machinery, we have customer service, and then we have what? Please, someone says you can see that. And then we have what?
Deliveries.
Deliveries. Your mic is still on, eh? You got yourself. I'll start asking you questions. Okay. Don't mute too. All right. So you saw in the previous question, the examiner made it simple for us. They gave us the overhead costs allocated for all the cost pool. But in this question, look at what they've done. They've further given us what we call cost pool percentages. So it means that we will have to do the calculation ourselves. Now, if we go back to the additional information, it says that the budgeted fixed overhead of a total of 165,600 can be analyzed into what? The various cost pools. So we will have to use the percentages, which will sum up to 100%, to share this for what? The various cost pools. Okay? All right. We'll come back to it. Then step 2, what do we do? So step 1 is the cost pools. Step 2 is the cost drivers and your ability to match it. Okay. So batch. So we have here, it says units in a batch. So let me just write it here. It says units in a batch. Machinery. Hey, machine, you know, they've given us only 4 costs, this thing, 3 cost driver data. So where will we get it from? Don't worry, we'll come to it very soon. Okay. So let me put an asterisk here. But the one they've given to us. The next one is customer service. Oh, we have number of customers here. So let me put it here. Number of customers. And then deliveries. What do we have? We have here quantities per delivery. Okay, so quantities per delivery. All right, so let's find the missing piece. The missing piece is the machinery. Let me ask the first fundamental question. Looking at the cost card presented by the question, which of the 2 traditional costing systems do you think the organization will be using? Marginal or absorption?
Absorption. Absorption.
Yeah, did I hear marginal? Okay, everyone is saying absorption. All right, thank you very much. Okay. Let's go to the additional data, which is the next thing. It says the fixed overheads we are seeing here were absorbed at a rate of 8 CDs per machine. What is this 8 CDs per machine hour called? Or what name will you give it?
OAR.
Overhead
OAR.
absorption rate.
Overhead absorption rate. What do you think the basis of absorption, what do you think it will be? Or what basis of absorption did they use to arrive at this 8 CDs per machine hour?
Machine.
Machine hours. So
They use the total machine hours. Okay.
machine.
All right. So just thinking about it, what we've just said, just thinking about it, we are trying to find a missing piece. So I just want to draw attention to something. If the cost pool is machining, what do you think will be a very appropriate basis on which cost can be driven, right, within that cost pool? It will be basically machine hours. That will be the appropriate or the best when it comes to the machining cost pool. Or don't you think so? But the only problem here is that to be able to arrive at the machine hours, we don't have information for it. And so what do? We will need to find it ourselves. And so it does appear that in arriving at this fixed costs, we have this rate, this OAR. And so we have to multiply some hours per unit, first of all, by the 8 to be able to get the 32, 24, and 20. I hope you remember we did something like that in our last meeting, where we calculated the OAR and then we used the OAR to what? Charge the overheads into our product. So here they've done the charging of the overheads into your products for you. And then they are telling you that the basis on which they did that was the machine hours by getting an OAR of what? 8 cedis per machine hour. So for each unit, there were some machine hours per unit that was used to what? To multiply the 8 cedis per machine hour to get the 32, 24, and 20. The question is that we don't know the machine hours per unit. However, we know the rate that was used to what? Do the absorption, and we know the cost. And so to get the machine hours, we'll do what? We will divide. Okay? So first of all this thing we are doing is just to get what we have here. So we can first of all determine the machine hours per unit. And I'm going to put an asterisk here. Okay? All right. So again, we have 3 products, X, Y, and Z. Okay? All right. So for the machine hours per unit, X will be the 32. So this is cost per unit, right? And then once we divide it by the 8 cedis, it will give us the machine hours per unit. So that will be 32 divided by 8. Y will be 24 divided by 8. I hope you follow. And then Z will be 20 divided by 8. All right, so first of all, what do we get for the machine hours per unit? So this one will be, I believe, 4 hours, right? 4 hours. This one will be
3 hours.
3 hours, and this one will be
2.5 hours.
okay, 2.5 hours. All right, no problem. This is the first step. Okay. Now, what did I say about your course driver data? What did I say about it? Yes, who can remember? What did I say about it?
So we said it shouldn't be in the per unit terms, but then
Mhm.
it relates to the total.
It should relate to the total production, right? So it means that even though we've gotten the hours per unit or the machine hours per unit, there's a need for us to what? Change it into what? The total machine hours for all the 3 products. I hope that is clear. All right. So yes, we've gotten the machine hours per unit first, but what we will need is what? Is the total machine hours. So this thing means that I have to expand a lot of things I'm doing. All right. So let me bring this one down. Let me also bring this one down because there's a lot of calculation we'll be doing.
Okay, so to say I have a question.
All right. Okay, what's the question, please?
Must we find the machine hours per unit before we get the total machine hours that we want? Because I was looking at it, since we have the data for the OAR and we have the data for the
total
budget.
fixed by yes, we
Yes,
could
I was
just do a table of
the
subjects.
same thing. Yes.
Yes, I'll get to why. Even though that approach is there, it will be best for us to go about using the long route. Okay, so don't worry, we'll
Okay.
get there.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. So we need to get the total machine hours. So in getting the total machine hours, it will be the hours per unit. So you see in the previous question, they gave you this information readily. But in this question, you have to solve it first, and then you are going to use it to what? Calculate your total machine hours. So for X, it will be 4 hours by what? The 1,200 units that will be producing. So that will give us machine hours just for that product to be how much? 4,1248. So that is 4,800 hours, right? Then B will be Y will be 3 hours by the production. We are producing 2,800. And what's the hours that will give us?
8,400.
Okay, so that is some 8,400 hours. Okay, and then finally, Z will be 2.5 hours, and then we say we want to produce 3,000. So the total machine hours which will be required, okay, will be
70,500.
70,500.
No, 7,500. Sorry.
7,500. Okay. Hours. Okay. All right. So what we've just done is to sort out the what do we call it? The cost driver data for the machining cost pool. Now let's come to the other ones. And again, please, okay, let me tackle what you just said, right? So when we add up everything, what will we get? 4,800, 8,400, and 7,500. What would that give us?
$20,700.
Okay, 20,700 in total, right? Fine. So what you were suggesting was that we know, so let me just do this. We know that if you want to get your OER, it is equal to your total budgeted overhead, right? Divided by the absorption basis. Now this OER we have here, we get it using what? The total machine hours. That is how we are going to get it. All right. The OER we have in the question is 8. Total budgeted overhead from the question is 165,600. So X will be represent the total machine hours. So when you do your change of subject, your X will be equal to what? 165,600 divided by 8.
Yeah.
And that will give you the 2,700 hours. Yes. But the problem is that, you see, we will need to know what the machine, the total machine hours for only X will be, only Y will be, and only Z will be. And even if we find the total machine hours here, we will not be able to allocate it straight away, but rather we'll have to use the approach that we use. Okay, so it is the reason why I was saying, yes, it is the reason why I wanted us to use this approach. All right, I think there's a question. Please, you can speak.
Yeah. Sir, please, I'm a bit confused.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, I'm a little bit confused. Please, can you go up a bit?
Okay.
The first one is, how did we get the 32/8 and then 24/8? Why are we doing that? And then secondly, the question, the ethos formula. So why can't we be able to allocate it to each of the products using the total, the 20,700? Maybe there should be a way, because that is much simpler. This one, I'm a bit confused about this particular one.
Okay, so your first question was, how did we arrive at the machine hours per unit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I said, remember in earlier meetings that we had when we're just going through the basis of absorption and how we use it to allocate overheads into our products. When we calculate the OER, what we do is that based on the absorption basis, whether it is machine hours or labor hours, to absorb the unit's overhead costs to a product, we take, for example, the machine hours per unit given to us, and then we multiply by what? The OAR. And that is how we would allocate the overhead or absorb the overhead, sorry, into the product.
Okay.
The only thing here is that that absorption has been done for us by the question, and that is what we have here. But the question again is telling us that the basis or the rate on which this 32, 24, and 20 was computed is the 8 CDs that we have here. So then that should mean that if we work back or we reverse it, we should be able to know what machine hours per unit was used to what? Multiply this rate to get what we have here. Do you understand me? So that's what we just did.
Okay.
Yes. Again, but I'm just saying that you are saying there should be a way we can simply allocate the 20,700 to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The best approach you can use is basically what I've taught you, right? So first of all, find the machine hours per unit. And once you have the machine hours per unit, multiply it by the total production, and that'll give you the total machine hours. Okay, that is all. So it is basically the trick within this question. It's just the trick here. All right. So please, again, for the uninitiated, we are trying to find the right cost driver data for the respective cost pools. And we have been able to achieve that for what? For machining. And we have to go through 2 steps to arrive at what? The total machine hours, which is the total hours required for our entire production. And I said that is what your cost driver data should relate to. Okay, all right. So now that we've sorted that one out, let's go to the other ones. Let's go to batch. Now, what did the information give to us? And let's see whether we can just use it straightforward or there's an adjustment we have to make. Now, again, remember, I'm saying the cost driver data, if presented to you, should relate to your entire production and not just one product or a part of it. When you read this, it says units in a batch. What do you understand by this? Anybody, quickly? Just tell me what you understand by this. Units in a batch.
That's the units in production. So the particular section of production, so the batch of production, the unit cost of it.
Oh, you were explaining it very well until you added the cost. Please, this is not cost, right? It says units. So it means that for a particular batch of products that have been produced, for X, if they produce a batch of the goods, we will find 120 products inside it. For Y, we are going to find 140 products inside it. And for Z, we are going to find 200 products inside a batch that has been produced. But you see, the 120 units, 140 units, and 200 units only relates to what? A part of the entire 1,200, 2,800, and 3,000 respectively. This information doesn't relate to what? All the goods that we are producing. So the question is, okay, we know manufacturing companies produce in batches. In one batch, the information given to us here is that we will find 120 units inside. The question we need to ask ourselves is, how many batches should they have to make to cover the entire what? Production? Do you understand? Okay, so you read the cost driver data carefully to see whether it relates to your entire production or not. So what we have here means that these figures relate to just a part of our production and not the entire thing. So a simple cue, when you take a look at the cost driver data, for things like batch delivery, you should be looking out for number of batches, number of customers, number of packages, number of delivery. Okay? Number of. You should be looking out for stuff like that. When it comes to machining, you should be looking out for what? Total machine hours. If they give you machine hour per unit, you change it into what? Total machine hours. So the unit in the batch is not what we need. Rather, we need what? The number of batches. So the number of batches will tell us how many batches of how many batches we need to produce to cover all the products. Do you get it? So we'll change this. All right. So if every batch you produce, you have 120 products inside, and you are producing 1,200 products. The question is, how many batches do you have to produce, or how many batches of product do you have to produce to cover the entire 1,200 for X? So
10.
simply, yeah, 10, right? So that would be 1,200 divided by 120. Okay, and that would be what? 10 batches. Simple. Okay. All right. So then it means this 10 relates towards our entire production. Then what do we have here? 140 batches. So 2,800 divided by 140. How many batches?
20.
20.
Okay. So 20 batches. Z. What do we have? We have 200 and then 3,000. So 3,000 products in total. Each batch has 200 in it. So how many batches?
15.
Mantil.
15.
Okay, 15 batches. Okay, and the 15 batches will cover the entire production of what? The 3,000 Zs. That's all. All right. We've tackled batch. Yes, there's a hand. Who has their hand up? Yes, Cynthia. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to know if you are given all number of badges, how would the calculation be?
Oh, the examiner has wadom okra. You saw we solved a question earlier, right? And then it was simple. We had number of whatever. It was only the machine hours that we changed. The first question we solved, we didn't do any adjustment. We just used the information sheet out. It was only the machine hours that we changed towards total machine hours. That's all,
Okay.
right? So when they give it to you like that, they've even made your work small. All right. So number of customers. There's another hand. Let me see.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Is it the
seems
same
it's
hand
the
or a
same.
different?
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Okay. Same hand. All right. That's fine. Okay. So number of customers. When we look at it, the number of customers that we basically serve, right? And that is the information we have here. So it relates to the total number of customers we are serving with what? With our products. That is all. So we can use this information as has been presented. So X is 50, 180, 220. Okay. 50, 180. Hope I'm getting it right. 180 and then 220. Okay. Customers. All right. Then the delivery. I hope you catch the drift now. This one, it is saying if we are delivering, right, the products to our customers or whoever it is, or if we are receiving deliveries, right, whichever way it will go, it is talking about the quantity of the materials or the quantity of the product that is being delivered. So this information is talking about what? A fraction or a part of our production, a part of it. Okay? So rather than quantities per delivery, we rather need what? The number of deliveries required to what? Cover our entire production. This is just a part of our production. This is just 100 products out of what? 1,200. This is just 280 out of what? 2,800. We want information that covers what? Everything. And that would be what? Determining the number of deliveries needed to what? Cover this, this, and this. All right. So same thing here for the deliveries. We'll be looking for what? Number of deliveries. Okay, and that one too, we will have to work it out. So we are producing 1,200. We are saying to cover the 1,200 products that we have produced. Okay, to deliver everything. Why? We are producing 2,800, and so the quantity per delivery is 280. So we need to make 10 deliveries to be able to what? Cover our entire production. Z, we are producing 3,000. Quantity per delivery is 250. So 3,000 units divided by what?
Network
250. And that gives us how much?
12 deliveries. 12
Hello, guys.
deliveries. 12 deliveries.
So I'm not the only one who can't hear a thing.
I think Rubin went off.
All right. Can you hear me, please? A thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Okay, that's great. So we were basically on the last one. So how many deliveries do we have to make?
12 deliveries.
All right. So 12 deliveries to cover what? The entire production that we make. That is basically it. So now our cost driver data is exactly how we want it. Okay, exactly how we want it. All right. And so we can then proceed to go to step 3, which is what requirement 1 in this question is all about. Okay, calculating the cost driver rate. And even before we do that, we need to get the total overhead cost for what each cost pool. And we've been given the percentages to 20, 45, 25, 10. Okay, so 20, 45, 25, 10. The total cost is 165,600. So you just multiply everything by this one. So 165,600. How much would that give us? 165,600. 165,600. 165,600. So this one will give us 165,60. What do we have for the first one?
33,120.
Okay, second one.
74,520.
Okay. Third one.
41,400.
41,400. All right. So we can proceed to look at what step 3, which is what computing the cost driver rate, or what we call the activity rate. Okay. Right. So it says activity rates per batch. So it clearly means that for the batch side, what we need is the total overhead cost allocated to that pool. That is 33 Ghana cedis. 33,120. Then what do? We divide it by the total, right? So then we have to sum everything up. So you have 10 for X, 20 and this, and that'll give you a total of, I believe, 45. Okay. All right. So this is 45 batches. And what would the CDR be? Next one will be machine.
736.
736. Okay. Per batch. Right. So we come to machinery. And that will be 74,520 divided by total machine hours, which we know is 2,700. When it comes to this one, we could have used this shortcut, right? We could have used this to get the total machine hours. But the problem will come when we are doing the allocation. That is where the problem will be. Okay, so finding the unit machine hours was the best approach to go about it. All right. So what do we have here?
3.6.
3.6 cedis per what? Per machine, per hour, okay, or per machine hour, as you want to call it. Third one is customer service. Okay. Overhead costs allocated to that particular pool is 41,400. And then we divide that by the total number of customers that we have. So 50 plus 180 plus 220 gives us a total of how many customers?
450.
So we have 450 customers in total, right? So we divide by 450 customers, and that will give us
92
cedis
per
per
customer.
customer, okay, per customer. That's the rate. And then finally, deliveries. The cost allocated there is what? 16,560. And so we divide that by so 12 plus 10 plus this, so 24 plus this one, that would be 34, right? So a total of 34 deliveries. Then that will give us how much?
487 cedis per delivery.
487 cedis per delivery. So this is requirement I, right? Successfully done. Okay. All right. So it's not difficult at all. But however, when we come to the II, which is the last thing we are going to talk about before we run out of here, it says you have 3 products, but your focus should just be on product X. Please, if you don't read the question carefully, and someone will think, oh, we've solved question in class where the company was producing 3 products. And then what we did was that we did the cost per unit for all of them. And you don't read the question well, you waste time and do the cost per unit for Y and Z. And you'll not get any marks for it. So the focus is on what? Just product X. So just focus on product X. All right. So here we want to ascertain the cost per unit, okay, for product X. How much overhead are we going to allocate to this particular product? So when you want to find your total cost for any product, we know what goes into it, right? So let's start. We know what goes into it. Definitely you have direct materials, right? And look at it. The details of a unit cost of a product. This just gets to tell you that what you are seeing here with respect to the cost card, right, is the cost per unit provided to you. Okay, the cost per unit. Okay, so our attention will just be on product X. Let me do that quickly so that we don't waste so much time. Focus on this, please. Direct material cost per unit is 70. We have direct labor. That is 65. Then we have our overheads, right? A variable overhead, and that will be 11. However, when it comes to the fixed overheads, which is what we are going to look for, right? We first of all have to do the apportionment to the product, and then we allocate it to it. So we have to start with batch, and then we are going to use the CDR. Okay, so batch, the cost driver rate is 736. So we'll take the 736, and then we are going to ask, okay, when we come to product X, how many batches did we have to produce to generate the cost that we have? So it was 10 batches, right? So 10. So 736 by 10, and that was X's share was that was, and that was 7360. So only X. Then we come to the next pool, which is machine. Okay, machinery. The cost driver rate is 3.6. 3.6. What was the total machine hours required to produce all of X? Is 4,800. Okay. All right, 4,800. And how much did that give us, please?
17,280.
17,280. Okay, then we go to the next one, customer service. Cost driver rate is 92 per customer. How many customers did we serve for product X? 50.
50.
Okay, 50 customers. So that will give us a cost of how much?
4,600.
4,600. And then finally, deliveries. Okay, the cost driver rate is 487 per delivery. And then what's the number of deliveries that we made for only X? We made 12 deliveries. Okay, 12 deliveries. And that'll give us how much?
5844.
5844. All right, so we'll add up everything. Remember what we did earlier, and then whatever we are going to get, we divide it straight away by just the production units of X, and that is, I think, 1,200. So what does this give us? Quickly, and let's bounce out of here.
35,084.
35,084. So when you divide it by this, what is the overhead cost per unit, which we are going to Absorb.
29.24 cedis.
29.24 cedis. Okay. So the overhead will be 29.24. And then when we add up everything, we are going to get the total cost per unit. So that is basically that. So how much does that give us?
175.24.
175.24. That is all. So I believe at the very basic level, we are going to understand how to apply the 5 steps, right, when it comes to ABC. So have that at the back of your mind when you are tackling any and every question. Okay. All right. So time is almost up. Aside the 2 questions we have solved, which has taken us basically through everything, all the tricks you could see, there are other 2 questions which I want you to solve. Please attempt it and share the solution with me. Okay. All right. So we are going to end the class here, and hopefully we meet on Saturday. And on Saturday, we are just going to talk. Okay. So we'll go through, let me just share or go back to the lecture note. We are done with this one. And so we'll just be talking about the other models of evaluation. There will be some calculation here when it comes to the throughput, but aside that, for just in time, this environmental cost management, we'll just be talking, okay? These are the theory areas. We'll talk about ethics, right? And so on and so forth. We'll talk about all of these things. And again, they form part of the contemporary approaches for what? 15 marks. So let's just have that at the back of our mind as we prepare for our next meeting on Saturday. I wish you all the best in your studies. Okay. All right.
Yes.
And again, please, I'll be giving you tests. Please do the test for me. It's important. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Sir, before you go, please, we have the solution.